I am excited about sharing this video with you, so let's get right to it. As a Humminbird user, have you ever wanted to share a waypoint with a friend who has a Garmin or Lowrance unit but have not been successful? There is a way to successfully share waypoints with other anglers using Garmin, Lowrance, or the Navionics app. Well, pre-fishing for a recent tournament, I was out on my own on one day before my partner came up to join me. And my partner, Oleg, uses Lowrance units, and I obviously use Humminbird units. And I wanted to share a waypoint with Oleg, and I said, I'll try, but I don't think it's going to work. And he debated with me and said, well, it's got to work because it's a waypoint. You got to be able to share waypoints. And so I sent him the waypoint, and it didn't show up where it was supposed to show up. And I said that I've had this ongoing problem for many years. And he said, well, there's got to be something. And so he went online and he found a video made by Hunter Freeman Fishing. And it's just a short little video, and Hunter did a great job of explaining the basics of position format. So we're going to look at that in this video, and Hunter laid the groundwork for some very important information that will help Lowrance, Garmin, Humminbird, and Navionics app users be able to share waypoints so that they communicate with each other and are compatible. We decided to pre-fish together for a day, so we felt that it was important to have access to both our waypoints, so therefore I brought along my portable Humminbird Helix 5. Here's the 30 amp hour amped outdoors lithium battery, and it simply goes into the back slot here and stores nicely out of the way. On a recent trip to Lady Evelyn Lake, where the resort shut off the generators from 11 till 7, I was able to use my 30 amp hour lithium battery for 4 days without charging it. Using Hunter's helpful hints from his YouTube video, I went to change my GPS settings, and I looked on my Helix 5, and at the top tab up here, and I believe that Hunter has a G4N, but I'm not 100% sure, he had a tab that said data sources. And if I go through my tabs at the top, you will see that there is no data sources up there. And under data sources, he had a GPS settings down here, and then he went from GPS settings to position format. So I went under setup on my Helix 5, and scrolling down through the options, I go down to, and there it is there, it's position format. And I have changed it to this DD degree, MM decimal, MMM apostrophe, and now it works with compatibility sharing waypoints with the Lowrance unit. But prior to that, the default setting was this, DD.5Ds with a degree. And when I shared waypoints using that configuration, it did not work. When I switched it over to this position format, it will work. So that was a tremendously helpful hint from Hunter, and I super appreciate the time and effort that he put into doing that video. I am hoping through this video that anybody who has had similar trouble to me in the past by sharing waypoints will realize how to do this. And if there was any confusion between the data sources tab and the setup tab, by showing you this video, I hope to eliminate that confusion so that all Humminbird Helix operators will clearly understand how to make that change to get your waypoints into the standard format. Here's an example of an individual waypoint from my partner's Lowrance unit that I might want to share with my Humminbird unit. In this video, I am talking about sharing individual waypoints so that you could share a fishing spot with a friend or receive a fishing spot from a friend, be able to send out a waypoint if you were in distress. Those are the waypoints that I'm talking about in this video. I am not talking about SD cards such as what you see here. For example, I have my Erie SD card and my Rice SD card. In the tournament, I cannot take the Rice SD card that I have here and I cannot share it with my partner's Lowrance. They are not compatible in that way, but I can share the individual waypoints, and that is the point of this video. So I want to make sure you clearly understand that I'm talking about two different things here. Entering individual waypoints, sending, receiving individual waypoints versus a complete SD card sharing of waypoints. Humminbird users who do not have a clear understanding of how to use the position format will have had some difficulty in the past if they have tried to share waypoints with a Lowrance or Garmin user, or if they have tried to interact with the Navionics app. The waypoint coordinates shown at the top of this screen will not share with different brand units in the format that they are currently in, and that is the default setting. The different brands of units must speak the same language in order for there to be compatibility between the units. Therefore, the position format must be adjusted accordingly on your Humminbird unit. I am currently running a Humminbird Helix G3N, and if I go to my system status by holding the view button down and I go to system status, I can see that my software version I am currently running is 2.660. I am going to soon update this as there's a new update out, and I want to show you one of the differences, as I think this is going to help you understand how to use the position format for your waypoint coordinates to a more efficient level so that you understand the intent of this video, and to show you how to get it into standard format. I am going to exit the system status, so I will press and hold my view button again, and I am going to go to chart and chart view. And now what I will do is I'm going to hit menu, and this gives me the headings. I've got alarms, and I would have a sonar tab if my sonar was on, but right now I currently have it off. And I have nav, and I have a chart, and I have a Humminbird chart. I have setup, I have views, accessories, and network. But I do not have a data sources. In Hunter Freeman's very helpful video, it had a tab at the top that said data sources. However, my G3N does not have that tab at the top. Instead, it has the setup button. Hunter had the data sources tab at the top, whereas you can see here, it is the setup tab. He went down under data sources to GPS settings and was then able to find position format. For me, using the setup tab, I have to scroll down to the bottom. There is an arrow at the bottom. Now you can see the arrow here that I was referring to. And if I continue to hit the down button, you will see that now I get to this position format. And it's going DD degrees, MM decimal, MMM, and looks like an apostrophe mark. And that is the standard format. And that is how you find it. It is not under GPS settings. And I made a random waypoint here, and this is waypoint 001. And under the standard format that I showed you earlier with the DD, degrees, decimal, it shows this format: north 43 degrees, 24 decimal 221, and there's your apostrophe at the end. West 80 degrees, 20 decimal 155 apostrophe. And that is the standard format, and that is shareable with Lowrance, and as far as I know, Garmin users. I can personally attest to the Lowrance, because this was the situation between my partner and I on Rice Lake, so that I could share navigation points with him that he could put into his units, or he could simply see an area that I was trying to reference to him during practice. Let's see if this Garmin waypoint will be compatible with my Humminbird unit using standard format. All right, let's run a test. I have my buddy Matt Kelly, who is out on Lake St. Clair right now, and I asked him to send me a random waypoint. It's not marking any of his fishing spots, and I want to see if I have compatibility between his Garmin waypoint and my Humminbird waypoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the Nav tab that you can see at the top here, and I'm going to go down to Waypoints, Routes, and Tracks, and I am going to make a new waypoint based on the information he gave me. So I'm going to New, and I'm going to New Waypoint, and I have to go down to North, and the waypoint that he gave me is 42, 27, and if all goes well, I should be able to identify where he is on Lake St. Clair. 7, 5, 2, and I'm going to check to save that, and now I'm going to go into West, and I'm going to go 82, 24, and 8, 6, and 1. So I'm going to check that. I'm going to double check it. So north 42, 27, 752, west 82, 24, 8, 6, 1. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to save it. And look at that. He is right near the Mitchell's Bay boat ramp. I can see that he is there, and he's probably just finishing up his day, ready to head home. And there's proof that now my waypoints are talking and communicating clearly in standard format between a Garmin unit and a Humminbird unit. That is going to be so helpful moving forward, and I wish I'd known that sooner, but as always, we're learning as we go, and you have to be open and receptive to trying new things, and I'm certainly glad I did, and I know Oleg and I really found this super helpful to be able to communicate back and forth between the Lowrance and the Humminbird, so that's absolutely awesome. Here's a waypoint sent to me from the Navionics app of a boat ramp on Lake Simcoe. Notice that the coordinates are in standard form, so they should work with the Humminbird in standard form. I have added the waypoint from the previous slide, and I'm going to now hit save, and let's see if it shows up. And this is from the Navionics app, so here we go. Save. And you can see that there is the waypoint created, and that is Lake Simcoe. And so we have successfully added in the waypoint. The standard format from the Navionics app matches the standard format on my Humminbird unit, and that is why they are compatible. Zooming in the map a little bit more clearly shows that the waypoint is at the ramp where I expected it to be. Here's a random Lake Simcoe waypoint from my partner's Lowrance unit. Just by looking at the format of the GPS coordinates, I am very confident that it's going to show up on my Humminbird unit on Lake Simcoe. I have entered the coordinates from my partner's Lowrance, and I am going to hit the save button. Here we go. And there it is. There is Lake Simcoe, and just as I requested, I asked him to send me a Lake Simcoe coordinate, and you can very clearly see it there as I recognize the surrounding areas from my experience on Lake Simcoe. The Lowrance coordinates were compatible now with the Humminbird because they are in this standard format matching up. So we have now proven with the Garmin, with the Navionics app, and the Lowrance that you can communicate waypoints between all of the different units as long as they are in a position format that is compatible between the different brands. Please make sure that under your setup tab you are in the custom user mode as opposed to angler mode, because if I am in angler mode, I will not have that option of seeing the position format. Choosing custom mode, as I said earlier, is important so that you have more options to utilize many more functions on your Humminbird units. Watch what happens when I change from custom to angler mode. So I'm going to hit the left cursor and I go to angler mode, and you will notice that I have no option to change my position format. There is no bottom arrow here giving me any more options. So make sure that you change it to that custom format. And now you can see that if I go down, I now have that option. And once again, I can get to position format. Let's see what it looks like if I go to this non-standard format. So now all I have to do is hit the exit button. And once I hit the exit button and I exit out of this again, I am going to recheck my waypoint that I previously made randomly. This format, although not in standard form, will allow Humminbirds that are using the same format to communicate with each other. But because they are not in standard format, they will not be able to communicate with a Lowrance or a Garmin unit. You can see that this is not standard format because there is no degree symbol after the first two numbers after north and after the first three numbers after west. There is a decimal place and it is concluded by 5 numbers. So that is very different from the standard format. Out of curiosity, I want to see what this format looks like when I check out my waypoint. In this position format, you can see that there is a north 43 degrees, 24 exclamation mark, followed by a 13 with a quotation mark. This non-standard format, although it looks closer to standard format, will also not be compatible with different brands of units. Hopefully you are now able to distinguish between the 3 different position formats and that you are clearly able to recognize what the acceptable standard format is to allow your units to be able to talk with different brands. Let's take a look at what happens when I restore defaults. So I'm going to go menu, And because I am going to be doing some updates on my units, I am going to need to restore defaults anyway. So I'm just going to go down to restore defaults, and I am going to right click on it. Yes, I want to restore defaults. And now it has gone back to the restored defaults that originally came with the setup of the unit. Here we are back to the original setup. So let's hit menu again. And one of the things that I want you to notice that it is set up in user mode after restoring defaults. It is set up as Angler. So each time you restore defaults, you're going to have to go back and you're going to set it to custom. So now it is back to custom. Now that I'm in custom, if I continue to scroll down and I follow down and I go down to position format, notice that it is at the restore to defaults, it is not in standard form. So if I want to be able to share this position format, a GPS coordinate, with another user, I need to be able to convert it to standard form. So I hit this and I go back to my DD degrees, dot, with the apostrophe, and now it is in a shareable format. So that's super important to remember. Every time you do an update, restore defaults, this is one of the things that should be on your list to do each time that you reset it. And I personally like my Fahrenheit, my feet and miles per hour kind of thing. So there's a standard list, and maybe one day I'll make a video on just the standard things that I do after restoring my defaults. From now on, after restoring defaults, I am always going to set my position format to standard format so that I can communicate waypoints with other different unit brands. When you hit menu with the 2.660 or previous update, these are the top tab headings: alarms, sonar, you have nav, you have chart, HB chart, setup, views, accessories, and network. The current software version is 2.660, and I am going to use my SD card here, and as you can see from the heading, I am going to update to 2.750. The update is now complete, and you can see that I am now at 2.750. I have hit menu with the new update 2.750, and I got a bit of a surprise. I did an update yesterday on a friend's unit, and it was a G4N Helix 10, and when I did the update, there was a heading at the top in the tab, data sources, and I was expecting that to happen with mine, but as you can see as I go through, alarm, sonar, nav, chart, HB chart, setup, views, accessories, network. So it is exactly the same on my G3N. If, however, you have a G4N, I am suspecting that you will have a tab at the top that says data sources, and under the data sources, you go to GPS setting, and there you will find the position format that you are looking for. Keep in mind that I have hit restore defaults prior to doing the update, as you're supposed to do. I've already gone through and I've restored some of my previous settings, and super important is the custom mode as opposed to the Angler mode. That will give you more settings. One of the things I noticed that when I was not in custom mode, I did not have access to the alarms tab setting, and once I hit custom mode, then I had access to that. So just another one of the added features. Continuing down, scrolling down, and I'm going to go to the bottom arrow, and I'm going to hit this position format. And this is the whole intent of this video. is to have you understand that this is now in the non-standard format, and that's a default setting. So it's that DD dot 5Ds and then a degree symbol at the end. If I want to be able to interchange waypoints with someone who has a Lowrance, Garmin, from a Navionics app, then I need to change this to the standard format. And this is the standard format. DD degrees, MM decimal, MMM apostrophe. And that is going to allow me to successfully share a waypoint to a friend who has a different brand of electronics. And conversely, if my partner has a Lowrance unit and he wants to send me a waypoint, then I can now put it in because it's under the standard format. Lake Erie is a massive lake, and it is definitely one of my favorite locations to fish. And it's super important that I am able to communicate where I am. And under this standard format with the north 42 degrees, 36 decimal 408 apostrophe, the west 79 degrees, 50 decimal 560 apostrophe, and I just moved my cursor to a random spot, I would be able to communicate that with a fellow angler. And if I was in some serious trouble, that would be obviously beneficial to me. And if they were in trouble, simply being able to communicate between the two boats, specifically where we are at, being able to plug in the waypoint they give me, it's going to make a rescue attempt or a helping attempt much quicker and more efficient. Whether my fellow anglers use Lowrance, Garmin, a handheld Navionics app, it is absolutely critical that we are able to communicate our locations between each other. Similarly, if I was doing a tournament in the Kingston, St. Lawrence, kind of Thousand Islands area, I would want to be able to phone the Coast Guard, for example, and if I was in a Mayday situation, here are my GPS coordinates, come rescue me. And that would be done in a very quick and efficient manner with no guesswork. Simply understanding that you have options with the position format is going to allow you to match somebody's operating system if they happen to be operating under a different GPS coordinate system. And from all of my understandings, this is the standard format, but if they happen to be using a different format, simply by switching with the cursor arrow and going to the different ones, you could potentially match up so that you are communicating with the same system with someone else. Once again, the DD degree MM decimal MMM apostrophe is the standard way to go from everything I have seen. I thoroughly enjoyed making this video, as I truly believe it's going to help my fellow anglers. As always, if you have found this video enjoyable or helpful, a like, share, subscribe is always very much appreciated. Take care and bye for now.